Now notice changing its name did not change its title. It still says Form 1. Well, that we change by going down on the right side, by going down to the text property. Sure enough, the text property says Form 1. So I'm going to change this to Hello World. Now, in the text property, you can type anything you want. You can use spaces, you can use exclamation marks, and so on. There's no limitations there. So I've typed Hello World, and I'm going to push Enter. And now if we go back, if we look at our form, it says Hello World. Now we can actually run this program right now. Up top, just under the menus, is a button that looks like a play button on a CD player. So we're going to simply click on that. See what happened? Now we have our Hello World window is running. Our application that we just worked on is running right here. You can still see it in Visual Studio, but that's just a graphical representation of it. This is the actual program running. Pretty cool, huh? But it doesn't do anything yet. You can resize the window though. You can minimize it. You can maximize it. And you can kill it. Now before we get any further, we need to save. Because whenever you make changes, you should always save. My motto is save early, save often, because sometimes Visual Studio might act up and it'll crash, or your computer will crash for whatever reason, or the power will go out and you're going to lose some of your work. Any work that you have done since the last time you saved your project, you're going to lose, unless you save frequently. So I'm going to hit the Save All button over here. This one makes sure that it saves the project and all the files that I've changed. Let me show you where that is. It's right there. Now, because this is the first time we're saving this particular project, now it asks where we would like to save it. And now we have an option to rename it if we so desire. First thing I want you to do is uncheck this Create Directory for Solution option. That just creates an extra directory that you don't need. And I am going to browse here for the directory where I'm going to save it, the folder where I'm going to save it. And I decided I was going to save it to my desktop. And in my desktop is this Greg Programming folder. Click OK. And click Save. My changes are saved. Now, let's add a button. So first I gotta go to View up here. And I want to choose Toolbox. And note that it added this other window in my main window where I was editing the form. And this shows you common controls that you can add to your form. And the first one that we're going to talk about, and we're going to use like crazy, is the button control. And you've all used buttons. If you use Windows, you've used buttons. So all you got to do is click and drag from the toolbox window to your form. And it'll create a default size button. Now you might notice here on the right side that the properties window has changed. It now says button 1. Note that when I click on the form's title, the properties window changes with that. So the properties window always shows you the properties for the currently selected object. So whenever you change a property, make sure you're changing it for the object that you want to change it for. So let me click on button 1 again, I'm going to change a whole ton of stuff for button 1. I'm going to move this up so you can see this better. And yeah, it's looking nicer. Okay. So first I'm going to change its name. Button 1 is not a very descriptive name. I'm going to change it to BTN. BTN is short for button. About start. Push enter. Now notice changing its name did not change what the text says on the button itself. To change that, we go back to the properties window and we have to edit the text property. Lots of controls. All controls have a name property and most controls have a text property. The text property is what shows up when the program is running. What is the text you see on that control when the program is running? The name property is the name that you use to refer to that control in your program, in your code, and we'll get there too. So for now, let's change the text to just say start. And again, the text, you can change it to whatever you want. You can have spaces in it and so on. Names of variables, functions, and properties cannot have spaces in them. And there's certain other characters they cannot have, and we'll get into that later. So now I have a start button. Well, let's run the program and see. Oh, save all. And I'm going to run the program. Oh, got a start button right there. That's very nice. Click on it. Oh, it doesn't do anything. It kind of blinks a little bit, like a Windows button should, but it doesn't actually do anything. Well, let's make it say hello world. So I'm going to kill the program. You cannot make changes to a program while it's running. You need to close it and then make your changes and then run it again. So to change the code associated with the start button, all we need to do is double click on it in the design viewer. You ready? Wow, what happened? Visual Studio took us to, first of all, Visual Studio took us to the hello.cs. This is not hello.cs design. This is hello.cs. This is the part of the file that contains all the source code, all the programming that we're going to write. And there's a lot of stuff here that I'm not going to go into yet. But the important part is that Visual Studio created for us a button start function. Button start _ click. This is the function that is going to run. Remember, a function is a block of code, set of instructions that has a name, and we can call it by its name for the computer to run that block of code. So Visual Studio created for us a function that when button start is clicked, this function will execute.